We got Nobody's here with us, Cole Bordwell. Last time you were here on College Radio Day, it was a really fun day overall. Back again. I mean, first and foremost, 2020's been bonkers. It has been absolutely nuts.
As you said earlier, the world is gonna explode.
The world's gonna explode, all right? So we got COVID still relevant, still global pandemic going on right now. With all this stuff that's happening, what's the day in the life of a Cole Bordwell right now? I mean, how much are you balancing work and music? Like, how much time are you spending working on beats and things like that?
Well, the album, I just finished the album, and this time I'm serious. I'm taking a break this time, because I always say that and I go back in. But this time I'm like so tired. I'm gonna take like a small break, kind of enjoy the summer a little bit, and then just kind of slowly waver my way in the studio.
So we'll talk a little bit about the album, Cole, that just came out. It's really, really good. I've had a chance to listen to it.
That is my name.
So that is your name. So I feel like I should ask this every time an artist comes out with something new, because I know that each artist kind of has different motivations for each album that they come out with. Whether there's multiple motivations, because I know each song might vary, what's the motivation behind this album that just came out?
The main goal, as you said earlier, like I think it's just versatility. And I know I talked about that in the first interview, but this time I was taken to a whole nother level. I wanted to try not so much like, oh, I can like sing and rap a little bit and like sing. I wanted it to be like dip my head into like different genres. So like I'm talking like rock, alternate rock, acoustic stuff, sad boy R&B. Like I just wanted to do everything for this one, and calling it Cole was kind of like a last minute thing, because originally it was supposed to be called $, and I was like, this is a good name. And then I kept it, and then as the process went along, I was like, it felt weird. It just didn't look good, like aesthetically pleasing, because the song names and the song titles were just like so cool to me, like Purple, Sweater Weather, September '08, I Don't Want to Miss. Like these are just like good, visually pleasing things that people would want to click on. And then I changed it to Cole because, like me, I'm like all over the place. Like, I'm like, I like everything to like the 70s to all the way to now. Like I like everything. So I just wanted, that was like kind of the goal with it, just to have fun.
And that's a perfect segue actually, because I know one of the questions I actually have down is, we've talked about this before, the fact that you like so many different types of music and that goes into the songs that you make. One thing I liked, songs like September '04, Self-Esteem, they're a lot different than some of the other songs on your album. They're a little more like rock kind of type
Punk
songs.
Pop-ish rock, exactly, Travis Barker or something.
So when you were making each song, were you thinking about making it, or switching things up, I guess is a good way to put it, for each song? Was that kind of the idea behind it?
100%, yeah. Like I made like 70 to like 80 songs, but all of them, I mean, some of them were like that good. They were just kind of like average, but I definitely wanted like every week, every day, it was just like something completely different than the next. Like one day I could be like, I want to sing, and the next day I'm like, I just want to scream in this mic, and then have it just be all blaring red and just peaked and just sounds really crappy. But like sometimes that's kind of like that sound at the same time. Like on September '04 when I say like pain, like it's low key sounds like Nirvana a little bit.
That's literally what I thought.
Yeah, no, like shout out Kirkle. But like he's gonna hear this. But yeah, like I liked it. I liked just the way it like sounded like it was gonna peak. It was like how they made it back then with the 8 tracks, and like how there was no like, okay, cool, cut it. Yeah, I'll start from here. Like, bro, you had to like get everything on point the whole time. Like you could not mess up, and if you messed up, the whole band would start over. So it's like that stuff, and like yeah. I just like it.
So this project was arguably the longest project in terms of the time it took to make it. Was there a specific reason, or were there reasons that you wanted to make this album so perfect and tightly screwed, I guess is a good way to put it, making sure that everything sounds exactly the way you want it? Because typically you come out with stuff really frequently, like with singles and things like that. You're kind of known for, constantly pumping out music left and right. What made you want to take your time with this album?
I think, well, the first album was kind of just like, hey, I'm here, like, pay attention to me, I can do this stuff too. And then since I had everyone like kind of watching me, and then Boys Do Cry came out, that just passed like 10,000 streams on Spotify. I know that's not a lot, but 10,000 is better than 0. So thank you to everyone who did that. And then I released 28 Days. That was kind of like an alternate indie thing. And I just didn't get a lot of love on that one. I just felt like people were like, there he is again. Like, he's dropping stuff again. So I was like, all right, bet. Wait, we're going to make you wait. And so I was already working on the album a little bit while I was making 28 Days. It kind of leaked into each other. And then I just took my time on this album. I don't know. Like, I didn't expect it to take this long, but I don't mind that it took this long. Like, I thought it was done, and then I would take like a 2 or 3 day break, and I would listen back to it and be like, do I really like that song? Like, is this song gonna represent me and like as an artist on my whole discography? Like, for the rest of my career, do I want this song on here? And like some songs where I like kept them on there, I was just like, I'm taking that off. And I like would take it off and I'd be like, it's not done. Like, I wanted it to be like 19 tracks, and then 19 turned in, I was like, 19's too long. And then I was like, let's keep it like 14. 14's a good number. Turned into 14, and I was like, I want it longer though. And I said, I want to do what I want to do. And then so it was supposed to be 17, and then one song just didn't make it. As I was like submitting it, I was like, I sometimes more is too much. So I was like, I'd rather just have like a good solid album instead of kind of like putting a filler in there, you know what I mean? And this one, I feel like there's no fillers. This isn't like a scrap. Like, these are songs that took me like a month to make, like each. So it's like, yeah.
So talking a little bit now about the cover, it's something that you and I frankly didn't get a chance to talk about it a lot beforehand, but an artist can't find true happiness. You set the bar really high in terms of cover art, because that was so spectacularly put together. So talk a little bit about the inspiration for Cole and the cover art that went with that.
I think, gosh darn it, Matt. I mean, the album cover was Artists Can't Find True Happiness. That was a really good album cover. I knew for a fact I could not top that. So I think knowing that straight off the gate, I wasn't like putting myself down with all these ideas that I had. So I was like, I know for a fact. And plus, I mean, I don't really want to like compare like that to that, because if you're just going to compare your albums next to next, like Kanye would have just made College Dropout 18 times. You know what I mean? Like he made the Yeezus, and like that was just a CD. And then, you know, there was no teddy bear on it. Like, it was a grave CD. It was like a whole thing. But the album cover, I wanted to be like dumb simple, because the first one was so complex, and it was just like so in your face, and everyone was like, oh my God. And I was just like, I want this one to be like really soothing, and like, I think the right words is like depressing, but not depressing, but like also like sad, inspirational, like hopeful, and simple. So the cover is me literally just like, actually me and my friend Noah, we just went to the skate park, and I just jumped in the air with a guitar like 60,000 times, and we just took like a bunch of pictures.
Improving the vertical.
No, thank you. But we literally just took like a bunch of pictures, and then I was scrolling through my phone, you know, like when you take Instagram pictures or something like that, you have to look through like every single one. You're like, my shoelace is off the point, you know what I mean, like that.
Well, if you're choosing an album cover, I mean, you got to make sure.
Okay, yeah, true. Yeah, and then I was looking through it, and I saw it, and I said, why is this hard though? And then Noah was like, oh, that's nice. I said, yeah, cool. And then we went out and taking new pictures, another picture. Like, there were so many possible album covers, and I think I chose this one because, number one, it was snowing. That last day, remember that day in like April when it would just, that one day it just randomly snowed?
Yes.
Dude, that was the day we did it. And I said, Noah, I don't care it's snowing, bro. We have one opportunity. It's not gonna snow ever again. This year. And I was like, this is the last time we could get like an awesome picture.
Well, I did enjoy the cover art. I just wanted to touch base and see what the inspiration was behind it. So you mentioned earlier that one of your albums just surpassed 10,000 streams, and you know, obviously as each project has come out, they've gained more and more traction and more popularity. How do you go about extending your reach? Because I know each artist kind of does it a different way. Nobody really does it the same exact way. What are some ways that you try to get new people in the door and new people listening to your music?
Very good question. I have some secrets I cannot give away. But I will say that I think if you're more vocal with your music, and some people like to post stuff, and sometimes, like me, sometimes if I post something, I'm just like, it's cringy, like, I just feel weird doing it. But like other times I'm just like, I get a lot of good feedback, so like it's a nice feeling, and I shouldn't be afraid to be vocal with my music. Like I shouldn't be afraid, but sometimes it's just like getting over that threshold, and like I just feel like awkward when I'm like, when someone's like, what do you do? I'm like, oh, I work, and like they're like, oh, a job? I'm like, yeah, a job. And then they go like, oh, do you do anything else? I'm like, I make music. And they're like, oh, what kind of music do you make? I'm like, already like, I don't know like how to answer this question.
How much time do you have?
Like, I'm like, no, literally, I'm like, do you have 72 hours? Like, I'm like, but it's just, I think it's just being kind of vocal and like being present with people. So like, if I'm with you right now and I show you something, you're more apt to like it than someone just being like, hey, swipe up, dude, fire. You know what I mean? Like, no one cares. No one cares about you at that point. Like, people have slid in my DMs and been like, dude, this is fire. And I've been like, I'm not clicking on this. Like, I don't know you, don't care about you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. But like, if I'm right there with you, people are more apt to be like, okay, wow, this is actually really good. That you did a good job. You know what I mean? So
that personal connection really probably does help
yeah,
too.
personal connection is the word I was looking for.
So I know that you do a lot of the legwork when it comes to the production behind each song that you do, but I know, I mean, you have guys like No Saudi and Anthony Gray constantly featured on your songs. In terms of the entire aspect of the song making process, the beat, you commonly have like an acoustic guitar usually behind it, things like that. How much help do you have with each song that you make? Like how many sets? Is it just like you and like 2 other people that are usually doing this? Are you doing a lot of the legwork? More specifically with this album, Cole.
Right. Okay. So I'm mostly doing the legwork by myself, but not. I'd say like 85% is me, and then the rest is like either help with writing with Noah or help with writing with Anthony. And I know that. I mean, Noah helped me write Purple, Sweater Weather, Stella Rose. I think that's it. And then Anthony helped me write I Hate You, Nike Shocks, and I Don't Want to Miss You. He helped me write that. And then the rest was just like me. And usually the process is like I said, it just depends on how I'm feeling that day, and then whatever literally like whatever's popping, honestly. And then I just go in, either make something or try to find something, email producers and be like, hey, I'm in the studio. If anything to send me right now. Like, now's the time. And like 50% of them like send something, and it's like sometimes it's bad, sometimes it's good. It doesn't matter. The point is like people try. That's all that matters, bro. Like people have the mindset of going in the studio and always making fire, and it's like that's rarely gonna happen. Not rarely, but like it's hard to happen, and people just need to get like more realization about that.
So we talked about this briefly before we went on the air, and I made a point to you. I was like, I'm going to ask you about this. So we mentioned, because the song came on actually on our station where there was a little bit of auto-tune, and we talked about how a lot of people misunderstand auto-tune, and they think that if you use auto-tune, like,
you can't sing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of common misconceptions about it, but I think we talked about it. If you use it the right way, it can be a very useful tool to making good music, and a lot of popular artists are doing it nowadays. And you're one of those guys where you use auto-tune. Tell me a little bit about how you go about using it, and using it the right way where you think it's, enhancing your music.
Oh, okay, that's a good question. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. Sometimes it's like, I'd say like the main vocals, back then I feel like the main vocals I had a lot of autotune. I just wasn't really comfortable and confident in my voice. But now I'm very comfortable with my voice. I know what I can and cannot do. And even if I cannot do that, I'm going to try my darndest to do it.
And that's another thing too, is I've noticed throughout the songs and the albums you've released that you're using it in a different way than you used to. So maybe that's another way you can touch on that. But because it seems like,
Okay, yeah, a different way. Yeah, literally, like, I think you're just so smart. You like take the words right out of my mouth, because like I'm like, I don't really know what I'm trying to say. Yeah. But for real, like, I don't know, I'm just, the main vocals I kind of structure now are like less auto-tuning, but the backup vocals, I think it either just depends on the track, and like you said, like using it in a different way. So like on September 04, I don't really have a lot of auto-tune. It's like mostly in my like regular voice, but like on Self-Esteem, the mains are just like boom, like just all auto-tune. And like most people are like, ew, I don't like that. But like if you look past that, actually don't even look past it. Look forward. You know what I'm saying? Like it's right in front of you. Like it's good. Like I promise you it's good. Like everything I structured for a reason. So like every song had like a specific way I did it. And like I know the track list up and down. Like I've done it a million times. I've seen it a million times. Like I rearranged it a million times. Like I know what I'm doing. So it's like, and I try to find a good balance between like giving the listeners a kind of a low-key break from like the auto-tune, or like how it goes from like Self-Esteem to Pool Parties to Both of Us to I Hate You. Just those 4 are like already so different. I use my voice literally so differently. So it's like also giving the listener a break, kind of tricking them into thinking it's harder than it really is, even though I'm doing the same thing. But yeah.
So in a lot of your songs, you kind of detail some of the mental obstacles that you've had to overcome, in your life personally. How important is it to you to discuss those issues? And because, for one thing, I think as a society, there's a really negative stigma with mental health. I think a lot of people are afraid to talk about it, and they don't really know how to talk about it. I think that's more important. How important is it to you to discuss those kinds of things in your songs? Because, like I said, some people are afraid to, but you clearly are not.
Oh, no, I'm an open book, bro.
Exactly.
You can ask me anything.
And yeah, so how important is it to you to make sure that you discuss those issues that you've dealt with?
I don't, like, when I write a song, I'm not just like, oh, I need to discuss this. It's just like literally whatever flows, and like it just pops out of my head. And like most of my stuff, I walk in the booth, I sing, I just focus on melodies first, and then lyrics come second. But like I'm more focused on how it sounds, like the overall sounding first. And sometimes the words just pop out of my mouth, and like the I Don't Want to Miss You is like a freestyle. Didn't write anything down, took me 30 minutes to record. Like that's like the most raw and most emotional song I think on the album. That's probably just because I love it, but the beat's crazy. Like I just love everything about that. But I don't think it's like, and to be honest, everyone's always like, I watch like a bunch of interviews on like the Breakfast Club, Power 109, like all that stuff, and I feel like everyone says like the cliche thing, not saying you're saying it, I'm saying like everyone says like the cliche thing of like, oh, we don't talk about it enough, we don't talk. I feel like we over talk about it, to be honest. Like, bro, ever since like 2014 or 15, that's all artists talk about. And it's like not a secret, like they're blatantly being like, I'm not okay, you know what I mean? Like the number one song last year, Machine Gun Kelly with Youngblood, with Travis Barker, like, I'm not okay, like that was the song. Future literally talks about sipping codeine, like he's like, I want to die, you know what I mean? Juice WRLD, R.I.P., literally his whole album was about Ally Lot, love, and how he's like heartbroken and doesn't want to live anymore. I think people talk about it way too much. I feel like people look past it. They're just like, oh, that crazy kid, you know what I mean? Like I feel like they're not listening, they're not paying attention. And like, I feel like we talk about it enough as artists. I don't know, like a lot of artists that I listen to talk about it all the time, and it makes me feel better. And most parents or most older generations are like, oh, shh, don't talk about that, that's gonna make you feel worse. And I feel like it does the complete opposite. It makes me feel better, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think the first artist that did that, like honestly, was like Kid Cudi, back in like 2008, like when he was like, The Pursuit of Happiness. Like, that was like the first artist that was like kind of like, hey, I'm not okay, you know what I mean? And like, I feel like a lot of kids, I mean, if you think about 2008, it's 2020 now, that's 12 years. That's a 12-year gap of kids like me who are doing this music stuff, and like Kid Cudi's a big inspiration, so.
One, that's a really interesting perspective. I actually never thought of it that way in terms of how often artists talk about it. But so you discussed it briefly in the beginning, how you're taking a break. But in your last song on the album, Blue Without You, you mentioned in the song for the last verse, different lyrics talking about how you're going to step away and how you want to start hanging out with your friends and doing things like that, and just kind of getting back to your true self and kind of letting yourself, for a lack of a better word, heal almost. Right. So maybe talk about that a little bit in terms of why you're taking a break, and maybe when we can expect you to start making more music again.
I mean, I'm always gonna make music. Like, it's just a part of me, but I just feel like I'm not gonna go as hard. Not saying the music's gonna be bad. I'm saying I'm not gonna go in there and like wear myself out like I used to, because back then I was just like, I'm nothing, I'm trash, like everyone needs to know me. And like now it's just like, I'm kind of doing okay. Like I'm not like famous or anything, but I'm saying like I'm kind of well known in the Omaha region, and my streams are fine. Like my streams are good, like right now especially. So I just think that I just feel like you said, I need to heal, and I feel like I'm just really tired like all the time. So I just kind of want to take this summer off and just kind of chill, do whatever, like whatever happens, happens. But I'm not going to like go to work and then be like, God, I got to go home and record, dude. Like, because that's what I said back then. And I was just like, oh, I don't want to do this. But like, I had to do it, and I forced myself to do it because I wanted to get to where point I am now, which is like being comfortable with my voice and all that stuff. So.
Well, personally for me, I'm really glad to see you taking some time to help yourself and not worry as much about making music. But Cole, thank you so much for coming in today, getting the chance to talk again. Love having you here all the time. Hopefully we can make this happen again.